Hello and welcome to The Sex Life. By that I mean the contentious life. My name is Sam. You join me here with my lovely co-host, the beautiful Sam.
Hello there. Yeah, it is kind of the contentious life, not the sex life, although that is a very contentious topic. Is it one of today's topics?
It's not, but it should be. I'm going to write it down in a minute.
Underrated or overrated?
Well, to be fair, I'm quite asexual. I've come to the realisation I'm quite asexual, so I would say it's probably overrated.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
What about you? I'm guessing you're a typical man, inverted commas, and you like your sex and porn and cigars?
Oh, yeah, all that fucking loaded magazine. Can't get enough of it. No,
Yeah.
I'm only joking. I prefer nuts. No, I'm not all... I don't like that, I like bitches and stuff, but
Yeah.
I don't
Hoes.
like all that other stuff, like cars and football.
No, fuck that.
I'm not a proper man like that. I'm like, no.
Well, let me just halt you there before you get on your soapbox, because it's time to get on your soapbox in a more organised manner. Let's talk about what you're going to... let's see what you're going to talk about today. We'll edit that bit out, by the way.
Probably. Well,
Started.
if you hear us saying that, but you know we didn't. But
Yeah.
we don't know yet. We'll toss a coin.
Yeah, I think it's got to be edited out because I sound like a mong. I'm just waiting
Yeah.
for my coffee to kick in. So, can we say mong? I think we can say mong, can't we?
Yep.
I mean it in the, nicest sense.
Well,
yeah,
I'm looking at one, so if we can't say it, that'd be something be wrong there, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So, let's kick off with your overrated.
Okay, yeah. Well, this is notes I made on two different things which are quite similar, so I'm going to sort of concatenate them.
Ooh,
You know?
do you know, there's a lot of words for that sort of thing in there.
Yeah.
Combine, converge, merge,
Yeah, and David Brent opts for the gesture, and he just goes,
Yeah.
he just sort of does that thing.
Yeah. I get it.
You can't see, obviously, but you know what I mean. So yeah, this is sort of live music in general, but also nightclubs, which it could be live, but it's usually just some DJ in it.
Yeah.
Some sort of middle-aged hospital radio DJ just managing to, trying to sort of get some status for these young, dumb 20-somethings and teenage women.
I know. He wants his sluts, doesn't he? But for someone who is a musician themselves, Sam, I thought you'd like live music. Doesn't that go without saying?
I know, not weird.
So tell me why it deserves to be slated.
For one thing, right, call me a purist, or I don't know, and this could be even be inverse anti-purism or something, but
Right.
I just don't like the way live music sounds. It never sounds as good as the album. I'd rather stick the album on, for one thing. I know, I can't tell if that's being a Luddite or being the anti-Luddite,
Yeah. So you're really being the anti-Philistine, aren't you? With it?
Yeah, well, it's just weird. I mean, some people have sort of a snobbishness with live music. They prefer that, and, they don't like recording,
Yeah.
and they count it as, like, cheating or something. But, the way I see it is... The recording, the album, whatever it is, whatever form it comes on, is nothing was left to chance. That's their vision, in pure and simple. Any slight mistakes they did, they might have left them in if they were sort of human enough. But if they didn't, they get rid of them. Then they'll re-record, and they'll add layers and do stuff which couldn't be done live. And they just have more time to get the sound right. They can sit at the mixing desk for fucking weeks if they want to. Whereas a live sound engineer, they do their best, of course, and they're good at what they do, but they've got to do it then, haven't they? And they've got to, like, quickly twiddle some faders and get it sounding decent. They don't have time to, like, rewind and sort of, like, tweak it a bit. They don't have any time to do that. But I just feel like it's a compromise when it's done live, because it's more about, people say things like, oh, it's the energy, though, isn't it? But I just find it loud, annoying, hot, sweaty, crowded.
Doesn't sound as good.
It never sounds as good. The acoustics are always shite, especially if it's in some small venue or like a pub, something like that. It always sounds fucking shit. It really does. Like, they do their best. They try and EQ bits out and try and get any standing waves out of there. But I don't know. It just I'd much rather sit and listen to a nice recording that's been like mulled over by someone. And a lot of people took as much time as they wanted.
You're not one of these people then who goes to a gig and say, oh, they were using auto-tune and they lip-synced. You'd rather them lip-sync and auto-tune to get it sounding spot on.
No, not necessarily. I don't agree with that. I mean, they can just like re-record as many takes as they want until they get the right one, the one that shines, or they can combine the beginning of one with the end of the other. If that's what it's still all them. But if that's what gets what they were looking for, then that's it, isn't it?
Yeah.
And people are always like, oh, gigs, let's go to gigs, man. I'm going to see this gig, I want to see that gig. And I just don't understand the excitement about it at all. I really don't. I'd rather just like sit at home and just like put the CD on
Yeah, to be fair, I'm pretty much the same. You know, I do love music. I really love music, but I haven't seen that many gigs because I don't get whipped up in the excitement. I just find them quite frustrating, and they're always hot. If they're indoors, they're always hot. If they're outdoors, it's raining. You know, it is just miserable. It is miserable, and the sound. You are quite right. The sound is never good. Yeah. Especially the more acoustic the band are, so the more instruments they actually play, the worse it sounds. Yeah. So, you know, a rock band is going to sound quite bad compared to just a pop artist singing to a backing track because there's more people to do more stuff wrong.
Yeah,
you know,
just a bigger sound, which is going to be harder to mix and harder to tame within the acoustic environment as well. Yeah. But just the whole thing that surrounds it, you know, you have to go to some crappy, like, sort of stadium type place, and then you've got to spend about £4 on a really shit overpriced carling.
In a plastic can.
And all the merchandise is all ridiculously overpriced. And not just all the acoustics and the engineering side of things, but also most musicians just don't sound as good live anyway. I don't know, there's the odd little blip and a mistake here, their voice will croak there, or they hit a duff note here, or the sound engineer will have got the balance slightly wrong and it doesn't sound quite as nice. I mean, they'll rush in and adjust it quickly, but there's little mistakes that you just have to let slip by because they're in the past now. You know, and some people consider that part of the experience, but I'm sure a lot of live musicians sort of regret that. They might have made a little slip up on stage and thought, oh, fuck, but I can't undo that now. Can't let that, you know, can't put that genie back in the bottle. But with a recording, you can just, you know, do it again, or just like edit that little bit like we're going to do.
Yeah, we're going to do a lot of editing, I expect.
And, you know, I'd like to extend this thing as well to nightclubs in general. I mean, if the music's live or not, doesn't really matter. It's the same thing. Going to nightclubs and you just, you know, what's it all about? Really, just like going there and just being bombarded with music. Too loud to talk.
Taking drugs and drink, that's what it's about, really.
Yeah, you know.
When it goes down to it.
And nightclubs are usually full of dicks anyway. Some drunken asshole will try and start a fight with you or something.
Yeah,
or
that's happened to me on numerous occasions.
Be pilled up and try and be your best mate. And, you know, you haven't got the heart to tell him his fucking, like, cat-shaped contact lenses have started to slip and one of them's gone slanty and he just looks like some sort of bomb.
Well, I was going to say, you don't really like live music, but what about live music which is perfected to be live? So, like, orchestras, where it sounds like the album. You arguably could say it does sound exactly like you'd hear an album recording of, say, the BBC Philharmonic Orchestra doing it. Is that more acceptable?
I suppose that carries with it an extra discipline, though, innit? When you're in an orchestra, you've got to basically practice and you've got to get it right always, you know? Pop music, rock and pop, it seems to be more permissible to not be that good and people will forgive you for it. I mean, if you do a duff note at the symphony, you'd probably be blacklisted or something.
You'd be fired from the orchestra.
Like, you know?
Get out, yeah.
Have your throat slashed with a bow or something.
Or if someone were to cough on a live recording or something. Yeah, it's true. So, would you go and listen to an orchestra rather than go and listen to like a live band on the pub?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I've never been to listen to an orchestra and it's not something on my to-do list, to be honest, but if given the choice, probably, yeah. I find live music at a pub to be more of an annoyance than anything. It's uninvited for me. It's intrusive sound.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, yeah. But you chose to go to the pub.
Yeah, to drink and talk.
Yeah, that's true.
And there's a gig on, so we've got to serve you with plastic glasses. Or if it's a club, it's like a pub that turns into a club on a Friday, and then they've got to whip out the plastic as well. It's like, oh, fuck this. If it's like that, then I'll have 1 pint and I'll go somewhere else, just because I can't stand drinking out of that shit.
I know, it is really bad. I think a lot of people wish like sort of nightclub culture would die off. A lot of the reasons we've mentioned, drugs, drink, people's behaviour, you know. Yeah. People are just fucking annoying when they're drunk, you know, or some people are annoying when they're drunk. They really, really do get on your tits. And there's nothing worse than being a live musician, though, and someone being really pissed and falling over your equipment, spilling drinks on your pedals, you know. It's got to be something which, you know, you got to do it for the love, nothing else, you know, when you do live music. So do they earn a bit of respect from that point of view?
I suppose so, but there's an interesting sort of point that I like to make now. Some musicians, I think, and some music is more fun for the people doing it than it is for the people listening to it. You know, it's like some guy in a jazz trance just making some crazy dip, and just like, it doesn't sound that good, but you can tell he's having a whale of a time, like he's in another world while making it.
Ultimately, is it the ultimate exhibition? It has hedonism, really.
Well, it's kind of like sonic masturbation.
It is. That's exactly what it is. It's kind of like, it's all about me, this is for me, and I don't really care if you're listening or not, but you better be listening, because I'll point it out if you're not. Yeah, you can, that could be one I could put on my list. Pretentious musos. Oh my god. I'm going to write that down before I forget.
Yeah, okay, well.
Sound effects.
Wow, yeah. It's a frantic writing you're doing there. Bloody hell, have you written a whole essay on it?
Yeah.
Like Johnny Five in reverse.
Plus notes.
Yeah,
Yeah, where are we at? Have you made all the points you want to make?
Yeah, but should it be a conclusion? Have we got to come up with some sort of moral conclusion, a final thought, Jerry Springer style?
I think my moral conclusion would be that those who love live music generally enjoy it because they're drunk or on drugs, and they go for the experience, inverted commas, so they don't actually go for the music itself. The music can be really poor. So I think, but that's down to an experience rather than wanting the experience of the music.
I suppose, yeah, with the live thing, you've got people at all levels, haven't you? It could be an open mic night down a local pub, in which case you're going to get some idiot at the other end of the scale. You know, I saw Radiohead once, pretty much the only high-profile gig I've ever been to.
Yeah.
And it was nice enough, it was good, and the sound was good, because I suppose, you know, a big band like that, they got top people working on it, and they probably had sound checks all day, you know, if necessary, and just to get it just right. I can't see myself going out to a gig every month or even every week, you know? It's just too much effort just to go to some venue and spend 15 quid on a ticket and spend probably 20 quid on a decent amount of booze just to have a couple of pints to enjoy yourself.
And it is just fun and games for some people. Although, speaking of games, that moves me nicely on to what I want to talk about, Sam.
Does it?
Yes. Something which I know will be right up your slack alley.
Yeah.
I want to talk about old computer games or older computer games.
Yeah,
So,
computer games of a certain age.
yeah, pre a certain date, yeah.
Yeah, they learn to rely on Judge on his responses. No, that's something else.
Yeah, well, the reason I want to talk about them is because I think they're really underrated, especially compared to these massive new mega games like Call of Duty, which have millions of players and earn so much billions in revenue or whatever. And they're not really that good. They're essentially just, you know, run-of-the-mill first-person shooters. And I just think that all the computer games, ones which I think had better stories, I liked the graphics. The graphics were pleasing, entertaining to look at.
It was artful.
It was
you
artful,
could say
yeah.
From limitations comes creativity sometimes, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
It's like the old sort of hip-hop sound came out of because they couldn't afford bass and they couldn't afford a drum kit. All they could afford was a little, you know, a box that you hit play on, and then they just jam over that.
Yeah,
You know,
it's true.
that's what the limitation came from. So they just pushed that to the limit and figured out what they could do with that.
Yeah, necessity is the mother of invention.
Yeah, that's the one. That's what I was trying to say, I think.
Yeah, we got there in the end. But I think one of my favourite computer games, and it's because it's not extremely old, mind, it is 3D-ish. There's
Mario
3D characters
64?
in there. No. Grim Fandango.
Oh, yeah.
Grim Fandango, to me, had an awesome soundtrack, awesome graphics, and an awesome story. What do you think?
I've had a go on it, yeah. But I like that whole series of LucasArts point-and-click adventures, you know, the Scum games, as they're called.
Yeah.
Day of the Tentacle, Sam and Max
Oh,
Hit the
yeah,
Road.
I love them.
The Monkey Islands.
I've got them all.
Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis.
Yeah.
Loom? Have you?
Yeah, I've got Loom. I've
You've
got all the Looms.
Loom?
I've got all the Looms.
Oh my god! You're
Oh,
the
yeah.
only other person I've ever met who's actually heard of Loom.
I love Loom. I love all of them. Honestly,
Yeah.
I got a Scum VM to run all them all. Yeah.
I've been having serious thinkings about playing Day of the Tentacle again. It's been about 10 years, I think. I'm
Yeah.
probably because with those kind of games, we're going off on a tangent now. It's the nature of the gameplay. They're fun, but once you've done it once, it's kind of this. It has little else to offer, then, does it? Because you know, unless you forget. But it's been long enough for me to forget loads of stuff about it, so I think I could enjoy it a bit again.
I know.
Now.
I think I could remember Grim Fandango all the way through, and I used to play it just on a marathon. I could do it in 4 hours flat, the whole game.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I could remember every single puzzle because I loved it that much. I played it so many times. But then there's other point and clicks, as you mentioned. I remember Full Throttle. That was another.
Yeah, I was going to bring
one.
that one up because
Yeah.
was that LucasArts?
It was.
Wasn't it? Because there were also non-LucasArts Scum games like Beneath the Steel Sky.
I loved that.
Yeah.
Oh my god, Beneath the Steel Sky is one of my favourites. I think I put that on my second.
Yeah.
Beneath the Sky, second favourite adventure game.
But-
Because adventure games are always my thing. I loved adventure games more than I didn't really get third-person shooters. I didn't get it. Whereas I loved adventure games more.
So, anything else to say on that particular type of game? Because that's just one very sort of narrow strata of game. We've got all, because I come from more of a console platform background as well as that.
Yeah. Well, I think the last thing to say about those types of games is that I just feel there was more heart put into them. That's it. There was more heart put into them, more imagination put into them.
No DLC. It was just
No.
downloadable content. It was just this is the game, we've put our heart and soul into it. I mean, there was crap, of course. There was always
there
crap.
was. Oh, there was.
I mean, that's just a law, isn't it, really, almost?
Yeah.
I mean, the Wayne's World platform game, I think I brought that up once before.
Oh my god, the Wayne's World
Awful.
platform game. I don't think I've ever played it, but
Terrible.
I'd like to. We should get it just to play it.
Yeah, I think I played it on emulation, and my brother was quite young, and I showed him it, and we were both just laughing at how shit it was, and the fact that they've got massively oversized caricature heads. But I agree with you there, yeah. I mean, I think 2D shouldn't have died when it did. I mean, it's had a sort of resurgence at the moment, but as soon as 3D was possible, practically and reasonably affordably, that's where everyone threw their money behind, didn't they? And it was
Yeah.
good, but everyone just almost forgot 2D, acted like it had nothing else to offer. But I think now people are realizing 2D does have a lot to offer, because not only are all these old games being resold and repackaged, like on the Virtual Console, Xbox Arcade, retro game shops, doing a good trade.
Yeah.
But also new games are coming out which are sort of 2D, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like that one on the Xbox, Braid, a really, really exquisitely detailed 2D platformer, like with a sort of time travel aspect. But people are realizing now with this new hardware, it's not just about necessarily doing 3D. You can also use this power to do really good 2D now.
Yeah.
And it's more artful,
Well, I'd agree with that 100%. 2D, you can, I don't know, it just seems that you can do a lot more. You can make the graphics look a lot more different from one project to the next, with not much touching up. You don't need to recreate every single model or whatever, just because you got the power of using backgrounds, and you can just draw over the top of certain backgrounds. And there's so many ways to animate in 2D as well.
Yeah.
So you've got you can even imagine stop motion capture, 2D. How cool would that be?
Well, it's been done.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was. There was a game on the SNES, I think it was called Claymates. It was a platformer.
That's cool.
The characters were plasticine, and there was a beat 'em up called Primal Rage where they were like plasticine dinosaurs, but they all looked really sort of naff and 60s.
Yeah.
Like the old Godzilla and or like the old sort of B-movie villains.
Yeah,
It looked a bit like all that.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
What's you call it? What's the one? Is it the Golden Fleece? That thingy one with all the skeletons.
I can't remember.
Spartacus, is it, or Jason of the Argonauts?
What's
Yeah,
that?
like old 60s like adventure film about Greek myth, and they had these like stop motion skeletons.
Oh no,
with, like,
I can
sword
imagine what that
shields.
looked like. Yeah.
It was trying to tap into that whole vibe, I think.
Do you remember when they did that stop motion capture in RoboCop?
Yeah.
And how awful it looked. Do you remember
I like
how
it.
bad it was?
I thought it was really good. The Ed 209 looked awesome, and I think the jerkiness gave it
Yeah.
a sort of character to it. I mean, it'd be CG'd nowadays.
Yeah, it
you
would
can tell
be.
somebody's put their heart and soul into it. I like it, and it's not just that bit. There's a small bit where RoboCop is stop motioned. The bit where there's a fight with Ed 209 in Dick Jones's office, and he
Yeah.
sort of grabs onto his gun. There's a brief shot where they're struggling, and that's the only scene where it's like a fake stop motion RoboCop model.
Oh, that's cool. I
Yeah,
didn't realise
just
that.
for a split second.
What about what's your favourite older computer game? Say pre-1998.
Yoshi's Island, or maybe Super Metroid.
Yoshi's Island. Oh, Super Metroid was awesome.
Innit?
I love Super
Yeah,
Metroid.
fucking the music on that as well. The
I got
last area was a pain in the ass, though.
Yeah.
It's just like run a really awful gauntlet. You've done the good bit of the game. Now just run a gauntlet and get shot at millions of times and just hope you've got enough energy tanks to withstand it before the final boss. And the one on the GameCube, Metroid Prime, is even worse.
Oh my, is it really?
I mean, it's a good game, but the last section before the last boss is just a pain in the bloody ass.
Well, I actually had a program which would rip the music off from ROMs, from SNES ROMs and NES ROMs. So I had all the music from Super Metroid, and like Final Fantasy, the original ones. I loved it. I love that kind of music. In fact, at the moment, I've got a CD in my car, which is all computer game style music of that era, but mixed with like dubstep and modern sort of DJs done it. It's awesome. Honestly, it's so good.
Have you heard of a game called Secret of Mana? That's a Square game for the SNES, and that's got some of my favourite game music, and I've got it on my computer, like the music as well.
Yeah, I think I've heard of that. My friend, I never
game.
owned a GameCube, but my friend did, and I remember him talking about it.
Yeah, it's good.
Was it a good game though as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's a Square game.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like halfway between Zelda and halfway between Final Fantasy. It was like Final Fantasy, but all the battles were real time rather than turn-based. But it still used all the, I don't know, it was more like statistics, one that, probabilities and odds and number crunching to generate the outcome of every hit and every spell. It still used all that, but, you attacked by pressing a button. You didn't select a menu to say, hit him with the sword, please.
Yeah.
Like you did on Final Fantasy.
Okay, that's really cool. In fact, I might have to get an emulator on my laptop just to play it, because I've wanted to play some older games.
Oh,
for
it's really
ages
good,
anyway.
yeah. It's like...
Well, is it kind of set in... Tangent alert. Is this kind of set in...
You're saying tangent alert now? We've just been talking about our favourite games. Yeah, but we haven't offered any insightful discussion about the underrated or overratedness of games. We've just gone on tangents about our favourite games and gone, I remember that.
This is a tangent top of a tangent.
I know.
I was going to say...
Meta tangent.
tangent. I've actually forgot what I'm going to say now.
Meta tangent.
I've forgotten what I was going to say. I really have.
Okay, then.
You've escaped my mind.
Well, okay, let's rewind a bit.
Okay.
Yeah, so the games, we've talked about these games. We like their artfulness. We like their sort of style. We like the fact that they didn't have the best graphics compared to nowadays, but they made up for it. And
I think they're underappreciated. I really do. Like, I feel that younger people, I'm just going to say, who play games and modern games, I think they've missed out on, like, really good storytelling, graphics, which are going to be enjoyable. They don't know how good it could be.
I don't know, because in a way, yeah, but I think children, they're sort of less prejudiced, aren't they? So they might just see a game like that and just think, oh, what's this? This looks fun, it looks interesting, and just enjoy it for what it is, take it at face value, without this sense that it's old or whatever. And with the way they're being repackaged, like I say, you know, being put on virtual console for the Wii, Xbox Live Arcade, even being, say, you know, old NES games being put on the Game Boy Advance, people are realising there's still an actual market, you know, that people are still actually willing to pay money for these. And it's not, I don't think it's all just like grown-ups who remember their childhood. I think a lot of younger children these days, they've got to be seeing these games and thinking, wow, this is actually quite good. Because they were good. They still are good. You know, it's still the manifestation of a shitload of people's talent and creativity and effort, and you know, you can't just move away from that and say that's null and void because it was made a certain number of years ago. You know, it's still someone's labour of love.
I hate people who say that it's outdated, so therefore it's rubbish, or it happened before. So that's not that's not always the case. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't.
Yeah.
But like, you have to take each thing on its merits, and there was so much good back then. There was a lot of crap as well, but there was so much good as well.
Exactly. I mean, you know, to quote David Brent, you know, a good idea is a good idea always. You know what I mean? No, but it's true. I mean, they were still, you know, exquisitely crafted pieces of software, and they, you know, they really put their heart and soul into designing it and thinking what would be most fun.
I remember what I was going to say from earlier, so we're going to go off on a tangent. I think the market for computer games this day is totally dominated by a few types of games. So you've got massive MMSFHOG or whatever they're called. So mega massive online player RPG things like Oblivion, Mass Effect,
multi-jive, multi-motherfuck, T-jive, role-playing.
Yeah, and there's quite a few of them dominating, and then you've got the first-person shooters.
Oh, role-playing, dominatrix, what's this?
Yeah, well, they should make us more sex games. I remember playing a sex game in the day with a woman who had really ridiculously large tits.
Was it Leisure Suit Larry?
I've played that, but this was a different one. This was actually in 3D.
Oh, wow.
I know.
I remember I came across some random, like downloaded a shitload of like ROMs for a SNES emulator, and it was this whole series of ones called like something, it was like badly translated from Japanese, but it was something like Wesley's Tokyo Eden, blah, 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 blah. And they're just slideshows of manga porn. I just imagine some like spotty Japanese 13-year-old managing to get a copy of this somehow in school, like off some illegal cartridge copying device, like, taking it home, running upstairs to like put on his SNES so we can have a wank to his SNES.
Furiously wanking over it.
Yeah.
Till he was raw, but then getting arrested by the state for having porn which didn't pixelate properly, and then he was put into a concentration camp.
I know, put into a concentration camp where he was only allowed contact with those life-size girlfriend pillows and fleshlights. You know, like they do. And of course, you know, plenty of sanitary towel and used knickers in the vending machines with a little picture of each schoolgirl who it came from.
Yeah, that's so weird.
That's real. They do that.
That's fucking weird. This is such a massive tangent, but isn't that fucking weird?
Japan!
Welcome to Japan. It's fucking rough. Yeah, but anyway, going back to it again. Yeah, so computer games need to be on. When I have kids, if I have kids, I doubt I will, because I've actually chose not to want kids now. Actually chose I don't want kids. But if I do end up having kids...
You can, though. You know, you can adopt, Sam.
Yeah, I know, but
you don't need a woman. You don't need a lady.
They're hard work. But yeah, if I did, I'd bring my kids up on a diet of all the computer games. If they were going to be into computers and consoles and stuff, I'd be, look, you've got to play these before you play the newer stuff. You know, you can't have your mind just totally desensitized to what a good computer game is by all this trash.
And, you know, people do the same with music. I mean, there's people out today who listen to Judas Priest and Black Sabbath, you know, like it's the best thing since sliced bread. And it's all right, like, but, you know, people are willing to give old music a go.
So they should give all computer games a go, yeah. Okay, well, I think that rounds us off nicely.
Okay,
I'd like to round you off.
Would you now?
Yeah.
What does that mean? What do you mean by that?
I don't know, don't look into it too much.
No, explain it.
I don't know.
Don't look away, explain.
Keep eye contact! I'm giving him eye contact and it's uncomfortable.
We'll dub some sort of like laser noises representing our eye gazes.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea.
Yeah.
Pew, pew! Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, so
anyway,
expect laser noises. Well, at this point, you'll have already heard them.
Yeah. Thanks very much for joining us. Goodbye.
Stay contentious, bitches. Oh, that's 25 minutes, is it?